Okay, so I think we can start. So hi guys, thank you for joining and welcome for our Super Monday. My name is Mayan and I'm leading the product monetization department here in Supersonic. I've been working in Supersonic for a year and a half, and before that, I worked in Jelly Button, which was acquired by Playtika. And what I basically want to say by that is that I used to work only on in a purchase-oriented type of games and not in the hyper-casual industry. So when I first joined this company and I started playing hyper-casual games, interstitial ad unit seems to me the most intrusive ad unit possible. And I was really curious on how we can tackle it and how we can make more money from it without hurting the user experience. So I've learned a lot, and I've learned that this is the most valuable ad unit we have in our games, and optimizing it and maximizing it is crucial. So today I'm going to teach you on how to increase revenue and profit with interstitial ads. Sorry, one sec. So today we're going to talk about 4 A/B tests regarding interstitial, really quick and easy for you to run to find the sweet spot between retention and revenue. Basically, where and when should we show interstitial ads? As you know, guys, we currently have our Supersonic competition, the Supersonic Superstars, and it's ending at April 7th. Now, as you can see, the first 2 prizes, the first 2 big prizes, are not only related to low CPI, but also on the amount of downloads you will get in the US iOS. Now, during the soft launch period, your CPI can increase a bit within time, which is a completely natural thing. But in order to keep buying new users in a scale and in a profitable way, we need to make sure our LTV is balanced, and basically to make sure we are maximizing the potential of our ARPU. So due to that, I want to teach you today how to do it within the interstitials. So let's start with our first A/B test regarding interstitial timer, the quickest and the easiest to do. Interstitial timer relates to the time interval in seconds between ads. Basically, it's good for games that has low level duration, 30 to 40 seconds max. The interstitial timer can be very different from game to game. Sometimes just a 5 seconds difference can make the whole thing change and for you to maximize your ARPU. You can see in the graph on the right that actually we A/B tested. This is just an example, of course, for an A/B test of interstitial timer. We challenged 30 seconds, which was the default, versus 25 and 20 seconds. And you can see only from this A/B test, we were able to maximize our ARPU for that game we A/B tested in 14%. That's a lot, and that's with only 5 seconds change. I recommend you to A/B test that and also to challenge the timer not only to the lower part, but also for the higher part. So no matter what is your control group, challenge it with higher timer and lower timer. Now, this timer, of course, needs to be correlated with the trigger point. And what is the trigger point? We'll talk about it right now. Oops, one sec. So end of level trigger point is actually the when are we showing interstitial? There are 2 types of end level trigger points. One is the common one, and it's the end of the level, and the other is before the end of the level. Before we get deep dive into it, let's see how it looks. So the first video I'm going to show you is interstitial after the end of the level, the regular flow. Here you can see we play the level, right? The level completed with the end of level scenario, which is this wheel. And here we have the decision whether to engage with rewarded video or not. Once we decided not to engage with rewarded video, boom, we get an interstitial ad. That experience sometimes can be, let's say, that experience can be for users to feel like they get punished, for example. They get punishment just because they decided not to watch a rewarded video. So let's see how it feels like. You click on a no thanks, and you get an interstitial ad, where the other flow before the end of the level looks like that. You play the level, you complete it.
Oh, finally.
And before standing in the position, whether should I watch an RV or not, you get an interstitial ad. Once the interstitial ad is being completed, let me quickly run it by. You get the option to decide whether you want to watch an RV or not. If you decide not to, you immediately go to the next level. This type of A/B test and this type of interstitial setup is mainly good for puzzle games, games that you can mostly win in. I highly recommend you to challenge it. It's different from game to game. In some games, this setup works the best when you first show your interstitial and then gives the option for rewarded video. And in others, the common way is the better one. Definitely challenge it. Here you can see an A/B test we performed, and you can see that before win page setup is actually even showing an ARPU uplift within the days. You can see you're almost day 70. Definitely try it, mainly for puzzle games, but I honestly recommend you all to try it no matter what your game type is. Now let's talk about a really cool A/B test, which is where should we start to show interstitial from what level? Usually we show interstitial from level 1 as default, and then we are challenging it versus later level. It could be common to think that showing interstitial from level 1 is the optimal way. You're getting impressions from the first day of the player. But in many cases, it's not the case. Sometimes showing interstitial from later level can cause really nice two things. The first one, a player can decide to engage only with rewarded video, which eventually it's a much better user experience, and we get more value from it in terms of eCPM. And another positive thing that can happen from it is, of course, the playtime, the retention, and the user experience. If I'm letting the player to get used to the game and to enjoy the game, to get hooked by the game before seeing an ad first, once we've seen an interstitial first, once we're showing them interstitial, they can be a bit more tolerant to it. But as I said, it's different from game to game. For example, one of our game, Bazooka Boy, we managed to push the interstitial to level 8, and we actually maximized our ARPU due to that. But it's different from game to game. Start from level 1 as a default, and if level 1 is not your default and later level is, challenge it and show interstitial from lower level versus later level. But basically, it's an A/B test for all type of games. Here you can see in the graph that just by showing interstitial from level 3, in this game, we A/B tested it, we managed to increase ARPU by 10%, which is a lot. So I highly recommend A/B testing it. Another A/B test is the mid-level interstitial. Now, it's very common in the hyper-casual industry now to have games like Idle Arcade, even IO games that have really long level duration. When we have such a long level duration, more than 45 seconds, sometimes a minute, even minute and a half, we are potentially missing opportunities of showing interstitials, especially if it's in the end of the level, like I just showed you before. Challenge your interstitial when you have a game that has long level duration with the mid-level interstitial. Let me show you how it looks like, and then we're going to look at the numbers. Here, I'm going to show you a video of a very short gameplay just to give you a sense of how it feels like. So we're playing the game. Let's say it's been 20, 25, maybe 30 seconds. We see an interstitial ad. And the interstitial ad completes, and we'll continue to play. It might seem frightening to you to even do that, but just keep in mind that hyper-casual players are used to interstitial ads. It's a common thing. It's what they know. Sometimes challenging, especially mid-level interstitial, and let me show you how it looks like in terms of graph, can be enormous in terms of the ARPU uplift it can generate. Here's an example for one of the games we A/B tested mid-level interstitial. This light blue line represents interstitial at the end of the level without interfering in the middle of it. The blue and the red lines represent mid-level interstitial, of course, correlated with timer, 25 seconds versus 30 seconds. Look how big this difference is. 40% ARPU uplift just from showing interstitial in the middle of the level. Even if we lost some players during the way, because of this experience, in terms of numbers, in terms of value, and in profit, it's a game changer. So when you have games with long level duration, I highly recommend you to try it. It can be a game changer for you. So when you're thinking to yourself, so what should I start with first? What will boost my ARPU and my LTV the fastest way possible when it comes to interstitials? First, try interstitial levels. Showing interstitial from later level in the game, it's an easy A/B test and could potentially generate great ARPU uplift and also a better user experience. If your game is a puzzle game, definitely challenge the before end of the level page. Sometimes the scenario of having the right flow, getting interstitial, and just after that decide whether to watch an RV or not can generate great experience in terms of the users and also, of course, a greater ARPU uplift. If your game levels are short, challenge the timer up and down it's a must, and it's an easy A/B test. And sometimes just 5 seconds difference, making a huge difference when it comes to ARPU. And of course, as I showed you before, if your game has long level duration, you must challenge mid-level interstitial. It becomes very, very common in the hyper casual industry, and it can generate a lot of ARPU uplift. 1 second. So guys, as I showed you before, sometimes just in the last example, 40% ARPU uplift is a game changer for a game. Could take you potentially from the 3rd place even to the 1st place just by changing that. So as you remember, we have our competition. Definitely challenge your interstitial timer and all of your interstitial setup I just showed you before. It's really quick in terms of development, and it will give you the time also to work on other things in your game, other things in your product. So challenge interstitial as much as possible, and I wish you a very good luck. Now it's our time for a Q&A. I'm gonna see what kind of questions do we have. 1 second, guys. Okay, how many let's see, first question. And it says, how many interstitial should I put in one session? So as I said before, there is no right answer for that. The session could be, if your level duration is 30 seconds or less than that, challenge the interstitial timer. Do not use counting for that. I mean, don't have a number, 2 interstitials per session, 3 interstitials per session. There is no right answer. The right answer would be tackling it within the timer and within the mid-level interstitial timer. It's very important to do so. It's definitely better than pick a number because we don't know it. I'm checking for more questions, guys. 1 second. How do I know I have too little or too many interstitials? That's a good question. Usually we do it within our own KPIs in Supersonic, but I highly recommend you just to A/B test it. If you have interstitial every level because of the timer you have, then challenge it to a lower timer or a higher timer. There is no really right or wrong in that sense, just to A/B test it and try to maximize it. Let's see if we have more questions. Will Supersonic help me with my interstitial? Sure. First of all, you will probably have this deck cert for you. And if not, you can ask us any question you want during within LinkedIn or Instagram. Feel free to ask us. We will definitely help you. And especially if you're a part of the competition, we are here for you. Let's see if we have more questions. Oh, I'll take a look now. Nice. What should be interstitial strategy for idle arcade game within 20 minutes plus gameplay? So first of all, we have an idle arcade game in our portfolio, but basically when you have this type of game, then of course mid-level is your option, even though your level is long. Let's say it's one long level, right? One long session, that's totally fine. Try the A/B test interstitial within 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, and maybe even try every few minutes to change the timer. Definitely A/B test that, but your setup, for example, here is mid-level, just with the different timers. So guys, that's it, I think, for now. Feel free to ask us any question on LinkedIn and on Instagram. We are here for you, and thank you very much for joining us today. Bye-bye.